Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm Matt Addison and this is an exclusive interview that I did with former Liverpool goalkeeper Dan Atherton, who left the Reds last summer having signed for them at the age of 12. Dan trained regularly with the first team squad for about 6 years, with Alisson, Adrian, Simon Mignolet and more. He was part of the pre-season tour in 2019 and details what it was like to travel to America with the senior team, as well as why he found it tough at times mentally during training. He's really open and honest about what going into Melwood was like and lifts the lid on Jurgen Klopp, goalkeeping coach John Achterberg and assistant manager Pep Lijnders, and what they're like behind the scenes too. This is insight from someone who's only just left the Liverpool changing room, where he was rubbing shoulders on a daily basis with Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk and Jordan Henderson. There's also anecdotes from the time he was thrown on up front alongside Divock Origi as Jurgen Klopp ran out of substitutes, why TikTok now plays such a big part in his life, and the lowdown on two players, Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones, as well as others, players that he came through the academy system alongside. I promise you it's an absolutely brilliant listen. There's loads more in there as well that I've not mentioned, and as you'll hear me say at the end, I could have chatted with him for hours. This is what former Liverpool goalkeeper Dan Atherton had to say. Enjoy. So Danny, thanks so much for joining me on the Blood Red podcast. Hope you're doing okay and hope things are all good with you.
Yeah, it's all good, mate. Couldn't be better at the moment. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know you're over in America at the moment. Is that something you'd always wanted to try? How's that come about?
I think obviously the main goal was always Liverpool being a fan, being a big fan of the club. But if it turned out that we was to go our separate ways, I've always said that I wanted to use football to experience. So not just to make the money that I need to live, but just to be able to experience the world and experience different places. So obviously America's always on that radar. I did actually sit my SATs to do a scholarship over here before I signed my scholarship at Liverpool. But then obviously I signed there and then things went another way and I ended up doing pretty well. So whether now's the right time or somewhere in the future is the right time, we're yet to find out. But at the moment, I'm out here playing for 2 or 3 months. We'll see how it goes, see how I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you were at Marine, weren't you, last season, and the season sort of got curtailed. Is the pandemic kind of getting in the way in terms of finding a new club and finding a new route? I suppose you've got your way to America, so you've got that far at least.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, getting to America was not easy. But one thing I will say is that COVID has definitely hindered me quite a lot. I mean, the decision was made a week before everywhere shut down that I would move on. They were interested in me as a training goalkeeper and carrying on training with the team. But it seemed that with other goalkeepers coming in and the fact that I'm a local lad and not the tallest, they felt that there wouldn't be as many opportunities for me. So it would just be training and stuff like that. And not that I wasn't happy with that, but obviously I don't want to be a training goalkeeper. No one dreams of sitting on the bench when you're growing up. So after not far off 9 years at Liverpool, I spoke to a couple of the coaches and we all felt that it's the right time for me to move on and try and find a career somewhere. I lined up a couple of clubs to go in for training that seemed really interested, and I was meant to be starting my trialling on the Monday, and on the Friday everywhere shut down. And it was then a long 4 months of what's happening. And then, of course, the money stops when my contract runs out. I'm still training at Liverpool when we start training again. So I'm still in and around the lads, but I'm not getting paid anymore. Then I'm trialling at different clubs. I'm all over the country. One day I was in Scotland. The next day I'm in Sheffield. I'm in Doncaster. I'm in all over the place. And then there was and I've never really had a negative word said about me. It's all been very positive, but obviously the situation at the moment with COVID and what that has done to the majority of clubs is it's damaged a lot of opportunities for me. So I've sort of just had to ride out this rough patch and make sure I stay as active as possible. So yeah, it's not been easy, but I think I'm dealing with it quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult period for everyone, isn't it? And trying to get jobs and so on and so forth. I mean, I've seen you've done a lot of social media stuff and TikTok and gone down that sort of route.
Yeah.
Is that deliberate to try and sort of put yourself out there, or is that just a little bit of fun?
It's a bit of both. I think if you speak to anyone in football, it's all about connections and who you know and what people think of you, and it's a very opinionated sport. And one reason for the social media, especially like mainly on Instagram, and then I've been working a lot on LinkedIn to try and make connections with goalkeeper coaches all over the world, really. The stuff on TikTok, I'd say it's more for my mental health than it is for anything else, because let's be honest, me doing the double around the world and a couple of tricks isn't going to get me a contract as a goalkeeper. But it just gives me something. So from my point of view, my personality, if I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm wasting time. So obviously I'm out of contracts at the minute. If I'm not in the gym, if I'm not running, if I'm not working out, if I'm not playing football or doing extra training or coaching, I feel like I'm wasting time. And I think that's when you can go down a dark path, especially during the period, especially with whatever job that you do. Working at home, you're not often getting out much. So as soon as it hits a period where you're not doing anything, you start to feel yourself like getting down. And I think the TikTok stuff, it is just a bit of fun. Obviously, it's getting a bit bigger as it goes on. And I've ended up with like just over 15,000 followers. And one of the videos has got 8.1 million views on it. So it's doing well, but it is mainly just so it's not very hard on my legs. It doesn't take a lot out of me, but it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something that passes the time. So it just makes it just keeps my enjoyment up and keeps me in a good mood and stuff like that. Because it would be very easy for me, and I know people in my situation that are in a bit of a rut, and it's just a bit. It can be very mentally draining, especially all of the places that you travel to, and you've still not got anything yet. And we're edging on not far of. It's just over a year now when I turned down. We made the decision to leave Liverpool, and it is difficult. So it's just, I'd say it's mainly from a mental health more than anything, to try and keep myself sane and not fall into a dark path.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the summer before you left Liverpool, you were there with the first team for pre-season, and we'll come on to the specifics coming on outfield and stuff like that shortly. But I mean, first and foremost, that must be an incredible experience to have. And when you are going around these clubs, that must be something that they look at and go, well, he's come from Liverpool. There's obviously, a top goalkeeper in there.
Yeah, I think as far as CVs are concerned, you can't ask for much better than LFC on your CV. You can't ask for anything bigger than that, especially the club at the time. The period of football that they were enjoying as well during that spell. And obviously that pre-season I went away with them and I was training with them throughout that season. Like, they won the league, we won the Champions League. It was a very successful year. And just to be in and around that it's something I've always dreamed of, because like I said, I've always been a Liverpool fan. And it was just there's no real words that you can use to describe it. And you feel proud when you're there, and it's sometimes hard to understand why you're there, and that's something that I struggled with earlier on when I first started training with the first team. Like, I speak to people now, and like when I first started training with the first team, I had like my first session when I was like 15, just like the odd session, one every month or something like that. And it wouldn't be a big session, it'd be the day after the game, a couple of lads training, but it was with players that I idolised. So I'd go up and I'd be training with them, or I'd see like people in the canteen, and I'm just like that all day, like that. Wow. Just walking around looking at all essentially my heroes. Like, I've been in tears watching them play football, and then I'm sat next to them eating dinner. And It took a while for me. It took a long time for me. And I feel lucky that I ended up getting more opportunities than I did, because I feel like some of the training sessions that I took part in, because I was in awe that much, and mentally I was thinking, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be playing on the same pitch as these people. And to get over that was a big step forward for me. So like it was like a switch one day where it was like, I think I had a pretty decent session like in my scholarship. My second year I did decent in one of the sessions, and I thought, well, yeah, I'm not Premier League level yet, and I'm not going to be playing in the Premier League week in, week out, but I'm obviously getting asked to come and train for a reason. So if they're asking me to come and train, I'm doing something right. So in my head then it was just do what you're doing. Do what you're doing. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong. There's nothing you can do about it. And I think that's important in life, not just in football, and especially as a goalkeeper. Like, if you concede, you can't let it get you down. You've got to keep going. And I think that was a massive step forward in my career to get over that. I think leaving Liverpool and then going to these other clubs, I've trained with a lot of different first teams now, and I've never had that feeling. I think mainly because I don't really know who the players are. Like, I've always been Liverpool. Like, I go to all these other teams and I'm fine. I can just fit in. Personality-wise, I'll talk to someone in an empty room. I'll speak to anyone you want. But I think that was a massive step forward, being able to sit and share a dressing room with players like the Mo Salahs and Henderson and Andy Robertson and all, Van Dijk, and these big personalities, and try and have a conversation with them without feeling like you're just on your knees praising them all the time.
Is that something that, you know, coaches and John Achterberg and people like that try to help you with that mentality side of it? Because that's a big part of the game that maybe as fans, maybe we don't quite understand that unless you're actually in that situation. It's probably quite hard to understand that.
Yeah, I think the way I'd explain it from my point of view, and obviously I can only tell you from my point of view, is that if you imagine people listening to this now, you're a massive Liverpool fan. If you walk into a restaurant and you're sat at a table and Van Dijk and his missus comes and sit next to you, you're in awe straight away. It's like, oh my God, that's Van Dijk. Van Dijk's there. Or you see Salah in the street. There's Salah. There's Mo Salah. Well, for me, that was all the time. Like, whenever I went with the first team, that's how I felt, and I'd feel that all the time. And you can imagine, you see people stumble over the words when they're talking to people of that caliber, like people who are that big footballers, like that well known. You start stumbling over it. Like, you don't know what to say to them. So if you imagine, I've got to play in goal and perform as well as I can whilst feeling that. And I think being able to get over that was something I found difficult. Other lads, it just happened. They just get on a pitch and they forget about them. But for me, I found it difficult early on. I think coaching-wise, it is just instilled into you. It is instilled from a young age. It's always about, you need to do things right here. You need to do everything right here, where you are now, whether it's 15, 16, 17, 18s, you've got to do it right here, so that when you get that opportunity, whether you're under 18, step into 23s, or whether you're 23, step into first team, when you get that opportunity, you know what you're doing. You know it's not going to be any different. All you can do is what you train for, and you have to train like you're there already. You've got to put everything into it and then make sure that you're ready to take the opportunity when it arises. And as you see, a lot of the young lads, they've taken their opportunities. You see a lot of the young lads now. I'm still in contact with a lot of the lads. Obviously, it's been more difficult with COVID, but they're doing really well. They're training week in, week out with the first team. Like, even the younger lads like Leighton Clarkson and Jake Kane and stuff. Reece Williams, he's gone from Kidderminster one year to playing Champions League the year after. Like, these are all lads that have come through the academy system and then stepped into it and took the chances. And I'm buzzing for them. I love watching the games on the TV and seeing the names on the team sheet. I buzz off it all the time, and it is something where you've just got to be ready to take your opportunity whenever it comes.
Yeah, definitely. I want to ask you about a couple of those names in a few minutes, but I wanted to ask you about Jurgen Klopp as well. I mean, you've mentioned some of the players. It must have been amazing to train with him. What was a Jurgen Klopp pre-season like? I know you obviously went to the US and trained with the first team. That must have been incredibly intense.
Got a bit of cramp there, sorry.
Oh, he's been working hard.
Well, I've just had 2 weeks off, mate, and then we're straight back. No, yeah, Klopp, I think what you find is with Jurgen, the manager, he drives it. He's like the driving force behind the sessions, and like he gets the lads pumped up. And like my main memory of like Klopp in person, obviously you got your main memories of watching them play and stuff like that, but in person was in the first game when we went to America. So obviously I was involved in the two pre-season games beforehand. I played against Tranmere up front, which we'll probably get on to, no doubt. And then I played against Bradford. And before these two games, like we prepared for them, but it wasn't really like meetings and stuff and all this and analysing stuff before the games. And the first game in America, we had a meeting before the game. And it was like, right, our season starts now. And I couldn't tell you what Klopp said. I couldn't tell you anything that happened in the meeting. But all I remember is being sat in the meeting, like just watching him, and like the feeling that you get inside when he's talking to you through this meeting. Like I wasn't playing. I knew I wasn't playing, but I was so up for this game. like I can't explain it. It was such a weird sensation because it was like made me like it was a friendly. It was a pre-season friendly in a college stadium, but it was against one of the German teams, Dortmund, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Dortmund, and like I was so up for this game just off listening to this speech that he'd given. It was only 10 minutes before the game, and that's like the one thing that I remember about it. And it just like how he drives it. Like it wasn't often that the standard of the session would drop, but if it drops a bit, it would get straight back up. He would drive it, and obviously like the staff that he's got around him as well, like Pep Lijnders. Pep was my coach when we were 16s. He was our manager at under 16s. We were the first group that he took at Liverpool, and he did that good of a job with us. He just jumped straight to first team. So he's always been a good link between them, and I think them together alongside the other coaches and John and Jack, the goalkeeper coaches, I think they create such a good environment up there, and they all sort of gel together, and it just works. Everything just clicks up there, and it works really well, and it emulates in the games. Obviously, we're going through a bit of a rough patch at the minute, but it is what it is. It happens in football, but you can't knock what he's done for the club. He's come in and he's brought back trophies. He brought back winning ways. You see it at Anfield. Even I never went to games before I was a player at Liverpool, just because we never really bought tickets. It wasn't something my family did. Being from St Helens, it was like no one really liked football. I was a massive football fan, but my family were all rugby and stuff. So I started going to the games when I had the opportunity to. And like before Klopp, like yeah, the atmosphere is unreal. And once Klopp came and it started coming, you can see it with the fans. Like the atmosphere just takes it to another level. Like what he's done for the club, I just think it's unreal. And like, well, I think every Liverpool fan should be forever grateful for what he's done for the club.
In terms of the training sessions themselves, is he very much integral to those, or is it more a case of maybe Pep Lijnders or whoever else taking charge as well? Is he the one driving it, or does he sort of let other people do that?
I think it's more what happens is that a lot of the preparation for the session is he's heavily involved in for the preparations and stuff like that. But I think you've got to understand the role of a manager. So you have your head coaches and your second manager, your assistant managers and stuff. They will take the session and they will lead the session, and you will have the manager walking around, much like you see when the other team's warming up at a game. He'll be watching the other team warming up because he needs to see what's going on. So for him to take the session and see what's going on, it's difficult. So he will like watch what's going on and then like pick little bits up and stop it and step in and just adjust little things the way he wants it. But I think most of the preparation for the session is done before they get on the grass, and then you've got Pep and the other coaches that take the defensive and attacking side of it, and then he steps in and obviously puts his mastermind to work and gets the lads playing how they've been playing the past few years.
Yeah, definitely. We've mentioned it a couple of times. Then let's talk about Tranmere. You came on, Paul Glatzel gets injured, and there's nobody else to come on. And it's obviously yourself that comes on up front. That must have been a surreal moment for you, and one that you must look back on with a smile as well, because it's not an opportunity that you would have ever probably thought that you would get to come on outfield.
Well, I said in an interview when we were in America, and I think it was the only interview that I've done. I think that was the last interview I've done, I think, apart from this one now. But I said that was the initial dream. That was my first dream of football. I was an outfielder. I was never a goalkeeper. No one dreams of being a goalkeeper. I'm yet to meet one goalkeeper that has said, I always wanted to be a keeper. I've not met one. And if there is one out there, contact me, because I'd love to speak to you. But that was always the dream. Like, you can see from my face when we come on, and even before that, I remember I've watched it back, and the commentator Steve Hunter, he says, like, he zooms in on the bench, and me and Klopp are laughing, and he says, Dan's asking, can he come on and play? And it was weird because that's basically what happened. Like, Jurgen laughed, and it was Millie. Millie was sat behind us and went, Dan, can you play outfield? And I turned around and went, I'll play whatever you want. And the gaffer, like, me and him were laughing, and then the gaffer looked over and just went, can you actually play outfield? Where would you be able to play? I said, honestly, anywhere. He said, up front, midfield, defence. I said, just put me up front. I said, just stick me up somewhere. And he went, go and get a kit on. I thought we were joking until he said, go and get a kit on. Now, I've never sprinted like that in my life. I sprinted into the changing rooms, and then we've got the kit man there. And, like, obviously, Pal's down for a while. It was horrible what happened to him. I'm gutted for him, but it did lead to one of the best moments of my life so far. So I'm not going to hide my excitement for it. But and I'm stood there in the changing rooms, and I'm saying to the kit man, I need a kit. He's like, did you not take it out? I was like, no, I need an outfielder kit. He was like, all right. And he ended up giving me Anderson Arroyo's kit. Lad, he's still at the club. I think he's gone on loan. But he's flicking through the kits to get me this... to get me the shirt, and he's like looking for the shirt, but that is the pace, he's looking for the shirt. And I'm sprinting around, and I don't want to be rude, obviously. I've not been with the first team for long. I'm like, can we just give us one? Just any kit will do. And, like, I finally got the kit, and I've just thrown it on. I didn't actually have any shin pads. So my first ever game for Liverpool, I had inner soles rolled in half and taped around my shins as shin pads. And I think that there's no real way to describe it. You just have to look at my face when I'm running on the pitch. And there's pictures all over my Instagram and all over my Twitter and everything from it. You just have to see the smile on my face when I run on the pitch. That was the feeling. Like, I was running on to play up front with Divock Origi.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It still makes me laugh now, like, when I see it back, because obviously, like, I'm in the US now with a different team of lads I've never met, and they ask about what's happened, want to see videos and stuff, and still when I see it, like, you see me running on, smiling and laughing, and then like that, I just start bossing everyone round, and I'm like, you're going over there. I'm like, Bobby, you're on the left, Divock, you're on the right, I'm up top in the middle on my own, and I think it was just such a surreal experience. Then even after the game, like Jurgen saying, I remember, like, the interviews and everything, like Jurgen was saying he's never seen he's never seen a goalkeeper perform like that outfield and stuff like that. Like, I've got all of these videos saved on my phone, and I still remember at full time when they were talking about it, the presenter, I forgot the presenter's name, but then Jason McAteer, the presenter says it's a man of the match performance from there, and Jason goes, well, I wouldn't say it was a man of the match performance. He starts picking my performance apart, and I'm thinking, come on, I've just ran on and just messed about, to be honest. I was just having a laugh. But it was such a surreal experience, and one I will cherish for the rest of my life. It is one of the best moments of my life so far.
Yeah, I remember it well. I was there myself, actually, in the crowd watching. I remember thinking, is that him? Is that him? Obviously, I wasn't aware of how many subs were left and things like that at the time. I was just thinking, no, it's not, is it? But then, obviously, it was yourself, and obviously it leads to an amazing moment. Yeah, really?
No, it was for me till 5-10 minutes I was on. I was only on for like 20 minutes, and like 10 minutes of it, like, she was adamant that it wasn't me. I don't know if he's coming on. My dad's like, he's on. He's on. Where is he? He's got a Arroyo on. But, I don't know if anyone's ever seen any pictures of Anderson Arroyo, but we are completely different. We don't look similar at all.
Certainly not twins, no.
Yeah.
Let's move on a little bit. I want to pick your brains on a couple of different players. I think we should probably start with Alisson Becker, who I assume you must have trained with a few times and got to know a little bit. I think you went on the US tour partly because he was still away, I think, at the Copa America that summer, and you must have trained with him. You must know how good he is. I mean, he's an unbelievable goalkeeper, isn't he?
Yeah, So I've had a lot of experience with Alisson. I've had more experience with the other goalkeepers because basically my role was either if Alisson was injured or when Simon was here. Like if Si was injured, then I'd step up and train. So it was always when he was on international duty, I'd step in and fill in. So like I did train with Alisson quite a lot, and to watch him up close was like what struck me about him was how relaxed he is, and how like when I'm playing, I know I'm frantic and I'm all over the place, and I'm all about being quick and speed and all over the place. He was just so laid back, but he was still quicker than me. He was just so laid back and slow, and he looked like he was just chilling in these movements and stuff like that. But the speed that he was still working at was phenomenal. And some of the saves that he'd make, it was just like he'd have no emotion when he made them. I'd make a worldie save and I'd get up smiling, buzzing, thinking I've just made a save in front of Klopp. I'm on fire. Get in, here we go. He'd just pull one out the top bin and then just get up and just like get up, step, and just chill. But like all of the goalkeepers, it was a great environment to work in. Obviously, you had Alisson, you got Adrian, we had Si as well before him, and Andy Lonergan I'm still in contact with and still speak to them now. And obviously, Queeve and Kelleher have known Queeve since he signed at Liverpool at 14s, 15s, 16s. I can't remember what age it was. And obviously, Camille Gabard, who spent a lot of time on loan, like all of the lads, including the academy lads. It was just a great group to work in. And it obviously helped me a lot. There's things that I took from them and things that I learned. And like I still remember every session, like I would always only train in shorts and top. That's the only thing. Like this is weird for me if I've got one of these on. Whatever the weather, raining, snowing, I would wear shorts, t-shirt, and train. And I remember Alisson and Adrian every single session. It'd be like the middle of December, absolutely bouncing it down. And they'd walk out. They've got the snood on, the hat on, the 27 layers of bubble coat pants, underwarmer pants, shorts, 2 pairs of socks, and the boots, and they just waddle out like that. And I just walk out in my shorts and top, and they just look at me and go, "You're just crazy, why?" And they give me a lecture. They say it's not safe and everything, but it's just how I just train shorts and top. I just said to them all the time, I said, "Well, I don't play in anything else. I play in shorts and top, so why would I train in anything different?" But then obviously Adrian does still train in his Under Armour pants. But to be fair to him though, like I understood why he did, because I spent 2 months in Spain. I went to Spain October to December. And I thought it was going to be cold because obviously it's December and packed tracksuits. But it turns out I was on the south of Spain. Like it was like a 3-hour drive to Africa. That's how like south it was. And it was so hot. And I came back to go on trial at a club in London in the middle of December. So I went from like 28, 29 degree heat training at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day on the Astro. So it feels even hotter. So then training at 8 o'clock, like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of London in the snow. And it was the first ever time I trained with anything more than shorts and top on. I had my jacket, my coat, my pants, everything, and I was waddling out to training thinking I know exactly how Adrian feels now because this is where he's from, Spain. And it was like, no wonder he's so cold. But I just about climatised now. I just about climatised before I left, and then obviously I had to go to Mexico for 2 weeks before we came here because we had to fill some quarantine out before we could come to the US, and then got it was raining today and I'm back to normal. Raining, shorts and t-shirt, get training, and I'm excited about it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, definitely. Just to finish off on the goalkeepers, I mean, how easy is it to learn from the likes of Alisson and Adrian and Si as well? I mean, do you just have to watch them and you start to pick little things up? Is it that simple?
I think it depends on how you work. I think one of the big things for me, the way I work, is that's how I work. I need to have something there. Right, he's better than me at that, so I'm going to get better than him at that. Like, I'm driven by that. I'm driven by things I can't do. That's why, like, you see, like, if you speak to anyone about me, I'm a bit strange because I can ride unicycles, I can balance stuff on my head, I can do Rubik's Cubes, just because I couldn't do them and it wound me up. So, like, if I was training so my left foot has gotten a lot better just because of Vít Jaros. So Vítězslav Jaros is very good with his right and left foot. Now that really wound me up. So I'd work on my left foot and work on my left foot and work on my left foot until it was good. And that's how I've always worked. And then obviously, like Veep was, I think he was injured, and then we were working with Ben Winterbottom, and was working with Jakub Orzinski and different keepers. And when you stepped up to the first team, that was when you seen the difference, and you seen like different people, and you seen Alisson doing things differently. I think one thing that I have learned and drilled into me from Alisson and Adrian is the spin that you see them do. So when they dive, they do a little spin. Now that was never anything I got taught. But now that they've come in and like you see Spanish goalkeepers and Brazilian goalkeepers doing it, it is a lot quicker, and that's something that I've taken and learned from them. But I think if you speak to any goalkeeper or goalkeeper coach or anything like that, goalkeeping is one of them positions where it's whatever works. You've got a job. You keep the ball out the net and you keep possession. You sweep up. Obviously there are better ways of doing things or more convenient ways of doing things and faster way of doing things, but there's no real wrong answer as long as you keep the ball out the net. And I think the main bit for me, especially with like going over to Spain as well, and then learning from different goalkeepers like Alisson and Adrian and Sai, different backgrounds, and Andy Lonergan obviously is an English goalkeeper all the way through, like different backgrounds. It's keeping your own game, but adding to it. So you're taking little bits, you're like, I like that, that works for me, and that makes sense, I'll take that. And then you see him do something else. So I like the way he throws it. I'm gonna take that and put that into my game. And you sort of you build this arsenal of different things that you have in your locker, and it's something that you don't just learn from one person. Like you could get keepers that come in and go, Alisson Becker, he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Right, I'm going to learn exactly how he does it. For me, that doesn't really make sense, because I think, as you know, everyone's different. Physically, everyone's different. Mentally, everyone's different. I know I couldn't stay as calm as Alisson does for 90 minutes. I can't stay that calm. I've got to be shouting at people. I've got to be telling people what to do to stay switched on. So straight away, there's a difference. And I think it's about picking parts of people's games that is best for you and making you the best goalkeeper that you can be, not trying to be someone else. So you have a lot. I think that's something that, in my opinion, that a lot of academies, that from talking to different coaches and doing my badges and stuff, I think that's something that is a problem in coaching these days. I think what you get clubs looking at professional footballers and the best players, and then that's what they want then. So you see Buffon. Buffon's been an unreal keeper for so many years. So you see academies using Buffon as a checklist. So you'll have it all written down, and then they're checking off, has he got this, has he got that, has he got this, has he got that? Well, nobody's just kept 20 clean sheets this season. So what's the issue? Like, I think people have got to stop looking at, is he going to be the next Alisson? Well, you don't want the next Alisson. You want someone that's going to be better than Alisson, and that's how the football is going to work. Obviously, it's going to be very hard to be better than Alisson, but I think that's the way you've got to coach, and that's the way you've got to, because like I like the coaching side of it as well, and I think you've got to understand it as a player as well, that I'm not going to be Alisson. I'm not. Never going to be Alisson. I'm not saying I'd never be as good or never be as effective. You don't know that. You don't know what the future holds. But and I'm definitely not saying that I'm anywhere near his level now, by the way, because he is unbelievable. But you've got to understand that you shouldn't be striving to be someone else. You shouldn't be striving to be the next Messi. You should be striving. If you want to be that level, you should be looking at Messi and then looking at all the top players in the world. You should be looking at Messi and Ronaldo. What are their best qualities? And putting them into one and making yourself into the best player that you can be, not being someone else. And that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I train, and the way I want to work with myself, and the way I want to work with the goalkeepers that I coach. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, excellent advice, mate. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but what I will do to finish is just throw a few of the other sort of younger lads and the people that you will have worked with, throw a few names over to you, and just to get a couple of sentences really on each of them about, you know, what they're like to work with and their sort of future and how highly you rate them. We've sort of mentioned Paul Glatzel already, but I'll start with him. just Paul Glatzel. What's he like, and what do you think that the future holds for him?
Paul is one very, very bright kid. He's a very, very smart lad, and he's a very, very hard worker. I think something that Paul's done well has come off the back of something that is horrible. He's had a bad injury spells. He's had a bad few injury spells, but what he has done, he's gone away and he's worked very hard physically, and he's come back. You can see it in him when he plays. He's a lot stronger physically. He's a lot quicker. He's a physically stronger lad. Shooting wise, he's a top finisher. He's just a top lad. He's a very good lad. I really like Paul.
Let's do the next two as a couple. I know it's probably unfair to sort of put them in the same bracket, but I think there's a few similarities between Jake Kane and Leighton Clarkson. Two obviously playing in the same position, similar sort of age.
Anyway, I'd put them together.
Go on.
You've got the left foot and you've got the right foot. What more could you want? You've got the two in midfield that run the game. They get on the ball, find passes, and they're just steady players. They're just top footballers, top lads as well. They're great young kids as well. Like you can have a laugh with them, you can have a joke with them, and like the passing ability from even before they broke into the first team, like they'll go a long way just with their ability and stuff like that. Obviously, I think the older they get and the more stronger physically that they get, it's going to help them out a lot. But they're very, very good.
Rhys Williams?
Rhys is he's one of them stories that's always going to stick around, isn't it? It's one minute he's at Kidderminster, the next minute he's starting in the Champions League. Like he's definitely one of the jokers of the group. He's definitely one of the pranksters. He likes to mess around and have a laugh, but obviously within reason. He's someone I got on with very well, obviously, because I'm a bit of a joker as well. Like I do like a mess about, and someone I got on with very well at the academy. And just what he's achieved so far, coming, especially the position he's in, it's similar to being a goalkeeper. You don't see many young centre halves. You don't see many young goalkeepers. It's all about experience. So what he's done so far is fantastic, and it can only put him in good stead for the future.
And another young centre-back, Sepp van den Berg, obviously out on loan this season in the Championship, where he seems to be doing really well. How highly do you rate him?
I think he's a good centre half. He's a quiet lad. Keeps himself to himself, but I think you find that a lot with some Dutch players. Him and Kijana, when they were together, it was like their little clique. They'd just keep themselves to themselves, quiet lads, but obviously technically very good footballers. He was a bit scared to head it when he first come over. That was quite frustrating, but I think he's getting that into his game now with the loan spells and stuff like that. Yeah. And that was always going to happen, but I think the English side of the game, the more he learns the English side of the game, let's call it the English side of the game, that's it, heading it and kicking it. The more he gets that into his game, the better he'll be. And from what I heard, he was doing really well once I left. And obviously, I don't know what I was doing on loan. I don't really keep in touch with Sepp, but he's a quiet lad, nice lad, good footballer, obviously, or he wouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I'm sure, if anywhere can get that heading and that sort of physical side of it into him, it's probably the Championship and probably Preston. Just to finish then, three other ones, slightly more sort of senior players, I suppose you might say. Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones and Neco Williams. All three of those will do as one little group.
I'll do them short and separate. Curtis and Neco, known them for a long time. I think Curtis has been steady all the way through. He's been the same personality, same loud, joking. Always been a good player, good with his feet. Another joke, and him and Rhys were quite good mates. And then moving on to Neco. Neco, I think he has been one person that has changed the most since I started. Obviously, I signed at under 12s. He was there. He was under 11s. I don't think I heard him say a word for the first 6 years I was at Liverpool. It was only when we ended up in scholarship that he started to talk and opened up a bit. And like the development football-wise that he went through from being under 17 to where he is now is unbelievable. And if he keeps up that pace, it's going to be top. Harvey, I love Harvey. I love Harvey. He's a top lad. I felt really sorry for him when he first come, because obviously there was a lot of things in the media where there was the messing about with the video with Harry Kane and the different things that came out in the media of him messing about. And I felt really sorry for him because half of this stuff was when he was 15. if I think back to what I was doing when I was 15, I nearly got released about 5 times for messing about. Like some of the stuff I did was stupid, and it was if I was in Harvey's position, I'd have gone on every newspaper in the country, and I'm very lucky that I stayed there. And I felt really sorry for him because he was just a young kid that got put in the limelight for stupid reasons. He never did anything wrong, but he had to write letters of apology and everything. But Harvey's top, and what he's doing at Blackburn, I've been watching. He's just been nominated for Young Player of the Year. He's doing great. I'm glad he's got rid of the bun and he's just got a long way to the air now. So I haven't spoke to Harvey for a while, so I should probably catch up with him as well, to be fair. But another top lad, like I said, not one lad I could knock.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. A top lad, and yeah, maybe the haircut is changing, which is probably not a bad thing either. Danny, thank you so much for your insight and your time. I don't want to keep you any longer, but that's been absolutely brilliant, mate. I could speak to you for hours about this stuff.
Yeah, no problem. Enjoyed it. Thanks for that, mate. Thank you for that.